On this episode of Locked On Angels, when will Trout be back? Who have the Angels signed from the draft? And we're going to recap last night's come-from-behind win against the Mariners, which I celebrated with a chocolate peanut butter milkshake. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to get back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. We're almost to 8,000 subscribers. We need you. We would love for you to subscribe to us. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And today's episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by our friends at Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan in any city. Check out Booking.com for your stay today.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Mike, do you always celebrate an Angels win with a chocolate peanut butter milkshake? That's not going to be good for your dad bod there.
No, I call it a father figure, but it's got to be few and far between. I'm 44, don't want to put on too much peanut butter chocolate pounds, right?
Hey, it's our third season here at Locked On Angels, talking Angels baseball here with you every Monday through Friday. On today's show, Mike Trout's coming back soon. Plus, we're going to give you all the details about the draft pick signings that the Angels made, and we'll recap that big come-from-behind victory for the Halos against the Mariners last night. Thank you, Joe. There's a new daddy in town. His name is Joe Adell. While Mike Trout's out, Joe Adell has been putting the Mariners on his shoulders, giving them piggyback rides up there, Mike. But let's get into Mike Trout, the stepdaddy, if you will, of the Mariners. Let's talk about him.
Yeah, he is in Arizona to face live pitching at the spring training complex, and Trout is expected to join the Bees tonight for their game, going to be activated from the injured list just a few days after that. Depending on how he feels, it looks like they're trying to shoot for Thursday, still up in the air. Wash said that Trout is biting at the bit to get up here, but he has to go and play the outfield. He did a lot of work in the outfield, doing a lot of things to get him ready for game time, but you can't recognize its effectiveness until you go through a real game. Wash said that he wants to see Trouty go about 7 innings in the outfield, and then they're going to ask him how he's doing, and then they'll let Trout respond and say, hey, I'm ready to come back if he's ready to come back. Wash said, we have our arms wide open, ready to welcome Mike Trout back to the Angels.
With arms wide open, let's go. I love that. I love that. Now, on the impact of Trout's return, Wash mentioned that it's going to be a huge boost. I know he might have a problem trying to get his offense where he wants it, but his presence for us is more important than his performance. Interesting. So we're going to be very happy to have his presence because he's one of those guys that can make everybody else better just by being there. So 2 questions here, Mike. First question that you and I and Locked On Everydayers have discussed often: should Trout be in the outfield or should he be at the DH spot? What do you say?
Well, when he plays the outfield, he's much better. And so I think if you want to see him produce, he probably needs to be in the outfield because I think that helps engage his mind. I think it helps engage his body. However, the guy is getting older and there's injuries that happen to him all of the time. And so I do think that you want to be cautious with him, but it doesn't seem like he got himself hurt and had the tear because he was in the outfield. It was running the bases.
It's going to happen any time, whether he was DHing or not, if it was the outfield or not, if it was swinging the bat or not. Like these injuries are inevitable at this point.
I think you just got to go full bore with what Trout will tell you to do, right? We've talked about the Ohtani factor last year. They let Ohtani be Ohtani. I think with Mike Trout, you just got to go full bore. You just got to do what Mike Trout wants to do. And I think you do have to be wise about how you use him. So I could see him DHing a little bit more than being in the outfield. However, I can see him wanting to be out there and be engaged. Johnny, when Wash talks about Trout's return, he said it's going to be a huge boost. So my question to you is, Do you believe that? Will it be a huge boost?
Offensively, it's certainly going to be a huge boost because he's the scary bat that this team has been missing. I think it's going to help somebody like Taylor Ward find it again. Look, he's had a great Monday and Sunday, so hopefully Taylor Ward will continue to do that until he's traded next week. Just wishful thinking there. But I will say, having Trout back in this lineup, Mike, you say it all the time. It extends the lineup. It extends the 1 through 9. Even Anthony Rendon's presence at the top of the order extends this lineup because you have some bats who are going to take some pitches. They're going to do some damage. They're going to take walks, things like that. So I think Trout in the offensive sense will be a nice boost. I think him being around the young guys, I want to see what that's going to do. I want to see if these young guys still believe that this is their team, because Mike Trout, the face of the Angels, is coming back. And look, he's been in the dugout. He's been super helpful when they're at home, obviously. Super helpful talking to guys, working with guys. All of that doesn't change. Now that he's back in the order and in the outfield, I'll be interested to see what happens with somebody like a Mickey Moniak or a Joe Adell. Are we going back to a platoon situation? Does Taylor Ward play left field all the time, or does he get some DH opportunities? Look, if you can defensively replace Taylor Ward, I'd do that 9 times out of 10 and put Moniak in left, Trout in center, Adell in right, because those are the guys that you need to continue to give everyday reps to. Whether they sink or swim is a different story, but right now this is the season to figure out what you've got with Moniak, figure out what you got with Adell, who's riding a 7-game hit streak, came through big time for the Angels last night. So I'll be interested to see the dynamic of the Angels once Trout comes back.
Angels 32-39 after last night's victory without Mike Trout. So 7 games under 500, 11-18 with Mike Trout. So 7 games under 500. John, are you surprised by that record of being 7 games under 500 without their superstar?
Yeah, you'd think that they would really tank after losing Mike Trout. And on some days, we've seen them really, really struggle to come through offensively. Look, last night was a great come from behind victory, but there was hardly any offense going until they got rid of Bryce Miller to get him out of the game. And you kind of wonder, does that happen if Trout's part of this lineup? So there have been moments, Mike, where he's sorely missed, but to know that they're 7 games under with or without him kind of makes me wonder what it would have been like with him over those 31-39, over that record, over that span. I'd be interested to see where they would be. Are they a 500 team with him on the team? I think they're closer to that, obviously. I think that there's going to be a lot of Mike Trout moments that didn't happen over that span. It is interesting, 7 games below in both situations. What are your thoughts on that? Because I'm kind of dumbfounded by that a little bit, but it is good to see that, hey, at least they didn't do any worse without him, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Well, we talked a lot about the players that needed to step up. And in fact, Wash talked about that before the game yesterday, and he was really proud of the young guys stepping up. He mentioned Neto and Ohapi and Shonawell. I think you got to throw in Joe Adell, John. I know he's been really frustrating for fans, and he's been frustrating to watch because of his low batting average. But you and I have been kind of an advocate for Joe Adell, even though he's been sinking fast. You
said you were tired of Joe Adell earlier this season, and I've been on the Joe Adell train since day one.
You got pictures? You got nothing. So
we've got episodes.
Things are starting to delete off of YouTube. What's happening?
That's weird.
The reality is it's good to see that these young guys did step up. Now, I do agree with you. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Mike Trout, not just present, but Mike Trout playing. I did think that it was interesting, and you pointed it out. I thought it was interesting that Wash said, we want his presence more than his performance because his presence is a game changer. I'd love to know how it is a game changer. When you hear these guys talk about Mike Trout, it's almost like they're starstruck, but in a really positive way. Not oh wow, but it's I get to play with Trout. This is so awesome, and I kind of want to perform. I kind of want to show him that I'm somebody you can count on, right? And so I think that anticipating the players continuing to do that when Trout comes back. And I'm anticipating Trout bringing the energy level up a bit. And we'll probably see a bit of a boon because you're going to play the A's and then they're going to, well, the A's have crushed us, but they're going to play the Rockies, right? And then they have the Mets who have kind of been up and down. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next few series with Mike Trout present on this team.
I'm going to the game on Saturday against the A's, and I'm really crossing my fingers that Mike Trout is back in time for that series. So if you see me at the game, be sure to say hello. I would love to say hi to you, take a picture, whatever you guys want. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. The Angels are playing the Mariners again tonight, 6:40 Pacific time. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. All you got to do is search Angels. Coming up on Locked On Angels, who have the Halos signed from the draft and are confirmed to be Halos? And why did 3 players only get $1,000 signing bonuses? We're going to tell you all about that coming right up.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by our friends at Booking.com. It's summer. It's time to travel, especially if you're traveling for baseball games, and you can explore the United States the way that you've wanted to. You don't have to stress about it. You can let our friends at Booking.com help you to find the perfect stay. And if you're following the Angels, they can help you find the perfect stay even in the rival city. So if you're traveling to Seattle, let Booking.com help you. Even though you hate them, you might actually love your stay from hotels. Go ahead.
That's 65-degree weather I heard on the broadcast last night. I'd be all about that right now.
Absolutely. It's cooler than my stand-up pool outside. From hotels to that overlook stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices from across the United States, and the right stay can make you a fan in any city. So don't stress about it. Flex your booking power with our new everydayers at Booking.com. Book today on their website, or you can download their app, Booking.com, Booking.yeah.
And today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. We love baseball. We talk about baseball. We consume baseball. We're watching all kinds of games, and we never want baseball to stop. And, we get fewer games as, NBA's off the air right now. The NHL's done, and the sports aren't sporting like we want them to. FanDuel is here for you to let you keep up the sports and your interest in sports whenever you want. All you got to do is open up the app, dream up any bets at any time when you're in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all their customers with a boost or a bonus daily. So there's something for everybody every single day, all summer long. So all you have to do is head on over to FanDuel.com, start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, and this is Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. And thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Now make your second listen, the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 sports streaming channel. It's programmed just for you to bring you the biggest stories in sports. It's the Locked On Sports Today network. It's so incredible. It brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news. It's streaming on YouTube or on the free Fire TV channels app. It's a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And the Angels are playing the Mariners tonight. It's Jose Soriano on the mound. And then we got word that Griffin Canning is actually starting on Wednesday. So that could be good or could be not so good. He's not on the IL, so that's really good news, right? You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
That's my response to that. Griffin Canning. Come on. Mike, the Angels signed their first round pick, Christian Moore, with a signing bonus of $4.9 million, nearly $5 million per Carlos Collazo of Baseball America. Now, Keith Law of The Athletic, who is a really reliable source when it comes to, draft picks, pipeline, all that stuff. He did express some skepticism that Moore's power would hold up even with a wooden bat, and also suggested that he's got defensive abilities that are limited and they'd eventually push him to left field.
Remember, Keith Law said that Nolan Shonowell was going to struggle with a wooden bat because Nolan Shonowell his swing didn't translate to Major League Baseball. So just throwing that out there for all of those that are like, well, Keith Law says he sucks. Just pause for a moment because Keith Law also said that Shonowell wouldn't be too great. And yet Nolan Shonowell has really improved. Okay,
Well,
Johnny, continue.
To that point, Baseball America had some optimism
Yeah.
that his improved contact rate would play well with his natural power. Mike, MLB Pipeline had him scouted at a 55 hit tool and a 60 power tool. And I loved what Lindsey Crosby said on our draft preview. Your power tools is only as good as your hit tool. And a lot of these guys the Angels have in the minor leagues have a 55 hit tool. The 50's fine, 55, you're starting to get better, and that's what you want to see. And I'm seeing the Angels take a lot of guys who can do that sort of thing. One reason why Baseball America is optimistic is they said Moore struck out at a 24.3% clip last year, but dropped that down to a 14.5% strikeout rate this year. Defensively, he's played all 3 outfield spots and all 3 infield positions to the left of first base, and he spent the majority of his time at second base and was a neutral defensive player there. So question for you, are you still hyped on Christian Moore? What do you say?
Absolutely. This guy won me over when he was interviewed. I think he's somebody that will bring a whole lot of great energy, great vibes to the locker room. And I think he's somebody that really wants to improve. He said he's a winner. He's going to get a ring. And I think he's somebody that will notice, hey, I'm really struggling here. Let me improve that. And you see that just in the stat when it comes to his K rate. He almost lessened it by half. And so he's somebody that wants to get better, right?
You don't need a wooden bat to do that, right?
Right. No, he's swinging and making contact, and he's not missing too often. Now, Johnny, Baseball America also addressed the Halos draft and said that they had the best combination of high stuff plus two-seamers and sliders, that these guys belong to the Angels. The Angels drafted the highest and third highest two-seam fastballs in the draft with their second rounder, Chris Cortez, who has 126 stuff plus, and then a seventh rounder, Bridger Holmes, 121 stuff plus. Now, you're the nerd when it comes to all the stats. I'm just somebody that reads that and goes, that looks good.
So basically, stuff plus is a Fangraphs kind of grade on kind of like WRC plus or OPS plus. It really just rates the nastiness and the movement of the pitches. So to have a plus fastball, two-seam fastball from Cortez and Bridger Holmes is fantastic. Bridger Holmes owns the highest slider score with 144 stuff plus. So they get the name from, he's got nasty stuff. And so that's kind of where that comes from. I'm sure there's an acronym that goes along with it.
Sure.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
The second round pick, Mike, the supplemental pick, Ryan Johnson, who the Angels got for the Ohtani makeup pick.
Yep.
He's got a 134 stuff plus on the slider, and that ranks 11th in Baseball America. So some nasty, talented pitchers here when it comes to the pitches that they're throwing. That's really good signs for the Angels.
Now, you mentioned it earlier. The Angels had 3 players, their 8th, 9th, and 10th rounders, Randy Flores, Derek Clark, and Ryan Nicholson, each get $1,000 signing bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it seemed wild that they would even do that. The slot value for each pick was over $200,000 for one, and over 190 for another, and over 180 for the final one. So let's just be clear about this. I know some people were like, what is that? That doesn't seem fair. And these guys need to eat and all of those things. This is a signing bonus. So the players will be paid a salary. But if you're curious about this low signing bonus, Baseball America says this happens all the time. In fact, players are not surprised and they're prepared for it. In fact, from their article, they said that many college seniors will agree to underslot deals because this gives them the best chance at pro ball. If they don't sign a deal, they can wind up playing in the independent leagues or potentially ending their career. So the smaller bonuses are not a surprise to college seniors. Players almost always understand what sort of bonus they'll be signing before the fact. So this is not a shock at all. And as it also helps with saving in the bonus pool for teams so that they can get perhaps a better player later on. And we'll talk about a better player in Trey Gregory Alford on tomorrow's episode, because he's actually a really good pitcher that signed with the Halos.
Yeah, they took the discount, so to speak, for the slot value and applied it to other players that they really wanted to get who have other incentives than to sign with the Angels, right, Mike? So for example, the Angels signed their second rounder, Chris Cortez, for about $1.6 million. That's under slot. Fourth rounder Austin Gordon signed for about $500,000. That's about $100,000 under slot for the 110th pick. This is the key here. The Angels signed their fifth rounder, Dylan Jordan, for $1.25 million. And the slot value for that pick, the 143rd pick, is $480,000.
Yeah.
So that's where you see the money get moved around and manipulated, because these guys have other incentives than to join the Angels. They could go to college, that sort of thing. They could do the sensible thing, go to Enterprise Rent a Cars, get a management job. What's that, Step Brothers?
Yeah.
And so these guys don't want to do that. They
Right.
want to be in professional baseball. And so that's why they're taking those deals. Now, Bridger Holmes, you mentioned him and his stuff. He got $215,000 as a bonus, and his slot value was about $286,000. So just a little bit less. Mike, if you're 22 years old or 21 or maybe even 18, and you're looking at what the Angels are offering you, even if it's under slot, $215,000 is more money than you've ever seen in your life. And this is how these guys get started. Now they got to pay their agent, they got to pay this and that and the other. But the fact is, it's more money than any of these guys have seen in their lifetime, right?
Right. And they're going to be college seniors, or they're graduating. So they're going to be early 20s, probably 22, 23, 24. And as Baseball America said, they're probably going to be guys who, if they don't sign, they're going to go to the independent league, and they're not going to be in baseball, Major League Baseball at all. So that's why they take these low value signings and these bonus pools, and that way they can play, they get their salary, and they can continue to develop. So the Angels did sign their second round, their fourth round, their fifth round, their sixth round, their seventh round, their 12th, their 15th, and their 17th round, which, by the way, was Lucas Ramirez, which is Manny's son. And then we also mentioned that the 11th round pick is Trey Gregory Alford, which was a high school prep player. And the Angels did sign him, and we'll talk in more detail about him tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Yeah, that's going to be the big key there is TGA, as I've seen him be called. And that was definitely worth the money, and definitely worth the Angels going under slot. That's what they did for Caden Dana, and they got a pitcher like him. And Trey Gregory Alford is going to be something special for the Halos in the future.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by eBay Motors. So you're working on your car? You taking that risk? Trying to be courageous? Well, eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and even level it up to peak performance. They have superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for whatever car you're driving, you'll find exactly what you're looking for at ebaymotors.com. And they got the eBay Guarantee Fit, which is guaranteeing that your part's going to fit your ride every single time, or your money back. And they have all the parts that you need at the prices that you want at ebaymotors.com. So it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. So keep your car, your truck, your SUV alive at ebaymotors.com. There are eligible items only. Exclusions do apply, and the eBay Guarantee Fit is only available to U.S. customers.
And today's show is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. It's America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. You should be the 5 million and first member. It's the most fun, exciting way to get in on all the action as you watch your favorite sports, your favorite players. You can win up to 100 times your cash with this summer on Prize Picks, because it's very easy to turn $10 into $1,000 while you're watching, I don't know, Team USA rack up gold medals this summer. Prize Picks can help you do that. You can make a Prize Picks lineup of players across basketball, soccer, tennis, golf, anything you want. Baseball, of course. You can do it in as little as 60 seconds. Just pick 2 or more, 2 to 6 players, stat projections, and you're locked in if you pick more or pick less on their stats. So download the app today, enter our code LOCKEDONMLB. They'll match your first deposit up to $100 if you use our code LOCKEDONMLB, all one word, all in lowercase letters. First deposit match of up to $100. Join Prize Picks today. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Let's talk about that game from last night. The Angels got a victory 3-1. Tyler Anderson started this game. He looked good. Johnny gave up a run in the first inning to Cal Raleigh on an RBI single, and then he retired 15 in a row before giving up another hit in the sixth inning. And it was right after that, Anderson walked a batter, and that ended his day. Had 96 pitches, 5 2/3, 3 hits, 8 Ks, and 1 earned run. And I know there were some questions about why Anderson was taken out at that point, but the answer really was something that Gooby talked about on the broadcast, was that Raleigh was battling Tyler Anderson in this particular at bat, 12 pitch at bat. And you could tell that Anderson was pretty tired after that and needed a break. And so Wash could read that. Wash came out, brought in Hans Kraus. And Kraus seems to be the guy that could come in any sort of situation.
Pump you up.
Right. And just be fantastic. And he came in and he struck out Mitch Garver to get out of the inning.
Yeah, let me talk about that real fast. So we see Tyler Anderson, first of all, keeps his ERA under 3, which is fantastic for his trade value. Second, 8 strikeouts in this one, Mike, but not as much length in the outing as he normally gets.
Right.
And that's the correlation here. He gets a lot of strikeouts, but he doesn't go as deep into games because usually he's getting guys to hit it on the ground. He's getting guys to fly out, soft contact, things like that. So he worked a little harder in this one to get those 8 strikeouts, which is great. It's great results. At the same time, there are situations sometimes where you look at, oh, he's got a low strikeout rate or it's lower than it's been in the past. Now, that usually is kind of what happens here. He got a great strikeout rate last night, right? 8 Ks, but it cost him a lot of pitches.
Right.
His games where he goes longer are usually the ones where he's getting quick outs. Now, I will say this. If you go back to 2022 with the Dodgers, he was doing both very efficiently, getting a lot of length, striking out guys, had a good K rate that year, but also was really delivering in terms of staying in the game, going long and providing some depth to the starting pitching. So it is possible to do both really well. I think at this point, Tyler Anderson kind of trades one for the other. We've seen that over the course of the season where, hey, a lot of strikeouts, that's fantastic, but also 5 2/3 innings. I like when he works quickly and efficiently, but sometimes you just can't do that. Sometimes guys just get hits, and that's what happens. And so you kind of got to work around that. Mike, I noticed this caught my attention. The Mariners, obviously, they have one of the worst offenses in baseball, if not the worst, I think. It was like a .218 team batting average. And you want to know what the problem is? There were 2 singles hit at less than 80 miles per hour. I want to say Victor Robles was one of them. Now, he did have a single that was 114 off the bat. But these guys are hitting these things, these slow rollers in the infield. And the only reason they turned into singles is just they didn't get out to the Angels defenders fast enough. And so you saw that with like Luis Guillorme trying to get, I can't remember if it was Robles or somebody else, trying to get him out at first base. And it wasn't in time because they're just little dinks in slow rollers. So I'm like, well, there's their offensive problem. They're not hitting the ball hard. Even Cal Raleigh hit one about 80 something miles per hour up the middle, and that landed in front of Mickey Moniak. And so that's their issue. They're just not hitting the ball hard. And so no wonder they're having such offensive problems because the hits that are landing are not hit hard at all.
Angels had offensive problems in this game, right? They couldn't score any runs until that 8th inning, and they finally got 2 on for Taylor Ward, and Taylor Ward hits a deep sacrifice fly to tie the game. It was right after a double steal, so that paid off, which was fantastic. And then they ended up just tying the game in that inning, and then we take it to the 9th inning, and the Angels had a chance in this one again. Drury and Neto both walk with 2 outs. And Johnny, Joe Adell comes up in a big spot again and comes through. He singles up the middle. And the way that they're playing defensively is it's not a shift, but in this world, it is a shift, right? They're playing on the appropriate sides of the bag.
As close to the line as possible.
Right up the middle. And so this ball doesn't get through if Joe Adell doesn't smash it, but he smashed it. 112 miles an hour off the bat, and that ball went right through the middle. So it gets Brandon Drury home, and then Neto comes around to try to score because the ball gets away because Robles threw it. And if Robles throws this ball, he double clutched, but if he throws this ball on a line, I think he gets Brandon Drury because that ball came kind of up the line and the catcher missed it. And then Neto noticed that, heads up base running, which, by the way, their third base coach, Eric Young, was almost at home plate as well, yelling and screaming, telling him to run. And I love that. I love the excitement there. So the Angels got 2 runs on that hit from Joe Adell. And you mentioned earlier in the show, 7-game hitting streak for this guy. He's starting to find his groove and find his rhythm again. Was interviewed after the game, and he said, I'm just adjusting. I'm shortening up my swing, and I know I need to do that more often. So apparently he's been listening to Locked On Angels.
I hope so. I'd love to have Joe Adell as an everydayer. But Mike, Carlos Estevez came in, got the save, made it look easy. The Angels won 3-1, but you glossed over my favorite part of this game.
Yeah.
And that was in the 8th inning.
Yep.
Before the sacrifice fly that Taylor Ward was able to tie the game on. And that was this ridiculous strike zone. And not just for the Angels, for the Mariners as well.
It was bad all across the board.
It was bad all the way through. And Sean Noel is up there trying to put a bunt down, a sacrifice bunt, doing a phenomenal job of pulling the bat back when it's a ball, when it's outside the zone, finally gets to a full count. Now this pitch, according to StatCast, hit the bottom of the zone.
Right.
But that didn't stop Nolan Shawnuel from getting fired up and getting tossed out of the game. And I tweeted, get mad, Nolan, let's go. And it turns out he's only the second Angel after Kevin Pillar to get tossed this year. Mike, Nolan Shawnuel got tossed? What in the world?
Well, I think what he's doing there is he's fighting for the strike zone because, John, there were 10 strikeouts looking in this game.
Yeah.
And so that strike zone was kind of all over the place. You saw it happen to Drury, but you also saw it happen to Calhoun, and you saw it happen to the Mariners as well. And so I think what happened in that moment is that Shawnuel felt like he was really on the ball. Yeah. And that strike, that low strike, had not been a strike all game long. Now, that pitch did touch the bottom of the zone. So I can understand why he called it a third strike. And in fact, when Wash came out and argued that, you saw Wash say, like, bro, you've been low on all of those pitches and haven't been, and that's where that comes from. The guy just, and I appreciated the home plate umpire. He just nodded. He was like, yep. I think he recognized why the guy was so frustrated. I don't know what Nolan said to get him tossed, but Nolan was fired up.
He just argued the call more than, he gave Nolan a leash.
He did.
I'll say that.
Nolan turned around like the third time, and that's when he was like, all right, you're done.
Yeah. But I loved it. And there was some people on Twitter that were like, yeah, I love seeing that out of the young guys, and especially Nolan Shawnuel. It was just like, dang, dude, that's been building up inside of you for a while. But the fact is, he worked a great count because to pull the bat back when something's going to be a ball is a challenge in and of itself. Mike, I feel like perhaps, now I know it was a strikeout looking, again, like you said, there were 10 in this one. Now the Angels struck out 14 across the whole pitching staff, so that was pretty cool. But I will say, maybe Nolan Shawnuel's eye for the plate is coming back. His eye for the strike zone is coming back. That would be a beautiful thing to see, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the excitement that he brings. You see some of that from Zach Neto. You see some of that from Logan O'Hoppe. I think it may have just been a kind of a culmination of the big moment, but also a culmination of like, bro, I know this strike zone, and that pitch has not been a strike all game, and you keep calling it a strike. And so pretty fired up about that, right?
Yeah. Love to see the young guys fired up. Love to see them get passionate like that. We need more of that on this team.
Let the expletives fly. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. The Angels play the Mariners tonight at 6:40 Pacific time, and you can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to today's show on YouTube. Get in the comments section on your way down there. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. It really helps out our channel. It helps Mike and I more than you know. Hey, Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
What did the Cubs president do that GM PM needs to do? We're going to talk about that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Looking forward to that conversation. Let's get into it tomorrow on Locked On Angels. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Wednesday.
That pitch was low. What do you mean? That pitch was low.
And we were face to face, nose to nose, like two umpires. What are you doing?